Hi everyone, my name's Jennifer. I'm from Luna Yoga here in Montreal. Today I'm going to go over one of the most common yoga poses called downward facing dog pose. So downward facing dog you'll find in pretty much every style of yoga, and in a flow style or vinyasa style like we teach here at Luna Yoga, we do it quite often during the class, and sometimes we kind of just flow through it. So it's nice to just take the time to pause and break it down. So first off, let's start with our hands. You want to have the hands flat on the mat. Most often, people will have the hands down, but there'll be a little bit of a lift in the thumb or at the base of the index finger. So you want to make sure to press those points down. And have your hands as wide as your shoulders. So not too wide, not too close, but about as wide as your shoulders. Okay? For the arms, you want to try to get an external rotation in your shoulders. So I'm going to show you what that looks like from here. So in downward facing dog, often we'll see people with their shoulders sort of pulled in. See how my neck is all crunched up with my shoulders. So you want to try to roll your shoulders out and let your head kind of come down. So there's lots of space around this area of shoulder and neck. So external rotation from your shoulder down to your elbow. Now you want to still try to keep a bit of an internal rotation from your elbow down to your wrist. Otherwise, that index finger and thumb will sort of lift off the ground. So I know that sounds really odd, external rotation at the top of the arm, internal in the bottom in this part. But just basically think in your head, okay, I want to keep my shoulders away from my ears, I want to keep lots of space here, but I also want to keep my hands flat on the ground. So for the feet, you want to have the feet about hip distance apart and try to keep your feet flat on the ground as well. So often we'll either have the arches of the feet drop in for some of us, or we'll have the opposite. So you want to try to have your feet flat, but with that natural arch lifting in the bottoms of your feet. How far should the feet be from the hands? What you can do is come into plank pose, get your shoulders right over your wrists, get your body into pretty much a straight line, and then from there, you can lift up and back into downward facing dog. And that's going to help you flow smoothly through those flows that we do in class if your feet and hands are the same distance for plank as they are for downward dog. Now, usually when we start downward facing dog, it's almost, or it can be very difficult to get your hips up and back as far as mine are, because the hamstrings can be a little tight. So if you're doing downward dog and you're feeling like your back is rounded, you can't get your hips up and back, then try bending your knees. That's going to take the tension off of the hamstrings, and then push your hips up and back. Ideally, we want to get a straight line from our wrists all the way up our arms, through our back to our hips, right? So remember, bend your knees if you're feeling like you're rounded. That's going to be the most helpful thing for most people. There are occasionally people who are overly flexible, and then we see something like this where the back is overarching. So in that case, you want to pull your belly in, pull your ribs in to give that support to your lower back, right? So not too rounded, not too arched, but just try your best to find somewhere in the middle. Now, what to do with your head? You want to have your head hanging between your arms and just nice and relaxed. So sometimes you can just shake it out at the beginning to try to feel that ease or get any tension out of the neck, and just gaze at one point between your legs. Okay? So downward dog, main points we want to think of is hands shoulder distance apart, feet hip distance apart, and we're trying our best to pull our hips up and back so we can get that straight line from our wrists up to our hips. It's a work in progress always, so don't worry if you don't get it right away. It is definitely worth checking out and trying and doing over and over. It's got so many great benefits. It's really going to help stretch out your hamstrings. It helps build strength in your arms and strength in your back. It also stretches the back. I could go on and on and on, but it's just one of those great poses, and that's why it's done so many times in a yoga class. So let me know if you have any questions. You can put a comment in the comment section, or if there's any other poses you'd like to explore a little more, then please let me know. Thank you.